Here's verse 5 of chapter 2 of John's Gospel. We're in the midst of a conversation at a wedding that's going on between Jesus and his mother. And Jesus has just responded to Mary with a very mild rebuke, because she, of course, has told him that they're out of wine, with the implied message therein that Jesus should do something about it, and at least buried within that may be some invitation that Mary is making to Jesus to basically disclose who he is, what he is, to exercise some kind of miraculous power at this point. This is speculative, of course, but it does seem that that's at least a plausible hypothesis in understanding this text. And Jesus, of course, if that's the case, does give her a little mild rebuke. What do I have to do with you, woman? It sounds a little harsher than it is. But the point is, at this juncture, Jesus is establishing that he has to go in a different direction and really can't be subject to her particular maternal desires at this point, even if it has to do with Jesus' identity as the Messiah or some such thing. So at this point, the conversation continues, and we have Mary now addressing not Jesus, but the servants. So lege, he says, would be the normal way this is rendered, third person singular, present, active indicative of lego, I say, but in this case, of course, it's the mother. He mater autou, of him, the mother of him, says, tois, dative case, tois diakonos, from diakonos, is the word that means a servant. This is not a servant as in a doulos, which would be a slave, but rather servants who are attending as employees to a particular incident. So at this point, these are servants in some capacity. Some think maybe it was actually the disciples who had come with Jesus to this festivity, and that's certainly a hypothetical possibility. But the point is, it's servants as in hired servants, that sort of thing, as opposed to someone of a lesser economic or social status. Hoti, on. These two taken together will take the subjunctive and are generally translated by something on the order of whatsoever or whatever. The subjunctive is found here. This is the present subjunctive of legos, that same word. And so whatever lege, this is the third person singular subjunctive present, and so whatever he says, you can tell the ending there is the subjunctive, whatever he says, humen, to you, plural, poiesata, this is the second person plural, aorist, active imperative. And so here the command is being issued by Mary, whatever he says to you, that is to you servants, do it. The aorist suggests that this is something that's going to take place possibly immediately, and it's something that needs to be taken care of immediately upon the command being issued. Interesting that Mary is, of course, proceeding on the assumption that Jesus will do something. In spite of the mild rebuke that we find in the previous verse, there must have been something, a twinkle in the eye, some such thing, that suggested to her that in spite of that, he was going to take some sort of action. There may have been other conversation. John doesn't purport to give us every word of the conversations that occur, and so it may be that Jesus had actually intimated to her in some way that he would take further action. But the point is here, Mary is confident that he will, and gives this command, therefore, to these servants.